You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is November 8th, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach Building Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
When you're ready, I can send you, no, that's fine, I just want. What's it, no, so the reason that ABC, whenever you guys finalize your changes here, that discussion is. The discussion. Not necessarily have to do that, the APC was just trying to be efficient and whatever changes it made into the zoning code, they made it once, so that we can move about process, notices. But for your, just because I know notice that, I will send you what I sent you there before on this, actually, we have the state rules, the regulations on that, just so you have. I think it'll be that. Well, other than moving, no, there's a data about this, right, that's it, yeah.
Where do you get that?
But before, it's, so the reason that context came up is to discuss that in context of the subject system to define structures being subject to our center. So one more thing, just be a clarification. Separate. So I'm gonna see just the state code, and you should do your feedback, because that's what the APC can consider too. Because maybe it's just a clarification, but ultimately the point was, we want to be clear that the county / state.
Yeah, there's also.
That's what I think with the structure. Yeah. Certain structure.
Yeah.
Consider.
Yeah.
Some service.
I mean.
And that's it.
No, very well, you go grab and us. Yeah.
So, sure, you can have one thing for you, there to be great. We're gonna go technical, no, I must go, it's not actually this, I think this bad, it's a touch screen, man. My fingers are just bad to work it. Also, blocking that.
Keep in mind.
Okay.
Jeez.
Okay, this is the, we'll call meeting order. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the Long Beach Building Commission, November 8th, 2024. Roll call, Larry here. Bob, name. Dee Remick,
Here,
Ben Boston, here, Joy Schmidt,
here.
Pete Bible, Joe Johnson is not here, Gardner is here. First, order of business is to approve the regular meeting, the meeting minutes from October meeting. So,
I'll second.
second by Joy. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those same side. Next up is the commissioners report. We had 43 permits with construction costs of $1,134,510, which generated fees of $10,992. We received 155 calls on permits and or information requests, and all the usual things underneath that. I had 2 floodplain webinars this month. And we had 1 call or question about a drain on Lakeshore Drive, an outfall on Lakeshore Drive, whether it was private or public, and I got together with Chief Swistek and Tom Davis, or not Tom Davis, that 2 street superintendents ago, Tom Dolph, and we figured out that it's a private drain. And one of the things that's, as long as we're talking about this, well, just any questions on the commissioner's report? Next up, or first is on old business, is the MS4 requirements. And this goes hand in glove with the drain talk or discussion I just mentioned. Part of our ordinance that was passed, we do not, in some towns, they will allow people to donate their drains to the town. And we decided that we didn't want that option, because then what happens is the town becomes responsible for the maintenance of the drains. And that can be expensive, especially in a town where you don't have sewers. There's the other thing on MS4 is we completed our required public outreach. We did that at the trunk or treat.
So what happened with this private meeting?
It was one at, it's 24, I can't remember the exact address, between 24 and 25 on the lakeside. And there, the drain pipe had actually broken. And so we went down and looked at it. I happened to remember who and when the drain was put in. So I put that in written form and gave it to both Tom and Mark Swistek. So when they contacted the owner back, they explained that it was not a city drain, that it was a private drain. So by the MS4 rules, private drains should be, each owner of a private drain is responsible to maintain those drains. And we're going to include that in the newsletter that goes out in December.
So what does that mean for this private drain? Fix it?
He's gonna have to fix it. Yes, that's right.
And do we have, is there some like time limit on these things?
I haven't,
State.
nobody actually follows up. It's up to us it's up to the town, according to our MS4 permit, to inform people that they need to do maintenance on their drains. As far as follow-up, I can't tell you what was discussed. I haven't talked to Mark specifically about this, nor Tom, after I sent my opinion off to them.
Sure, but I'm just, in general, is there an enforcement process when you issue a ticket? What do we do?
No, there's no, the MS4 permit per se does not have enforcement actions tied to it. I don't know if the town, I'm not gonna put this on Chris, but I don't know if any other town, there's no provision in the MS4 ordinance or the MS4 permit, I should say, for enforcement or penalties or punitive type things.
Is that left up to the town to do that, or the key assessment doesn't care?
I don't know that. And I'm not gonna put it on Chris because not that he wouldn't know it, but it's something that just, I know from the training that I went through, that there is no punitive action. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make everybody aware of the Clean Water Act and the MS4 provisions. And we, for a town of our size, we have done very well with it. Probably ahead of most any other town in LaPorte County.
And you should be commended.
Well, it's a collaborative effort with Tom Dolph, myself, and
For example, with, was it yellow bear, wheat bear,
yes,
Oh, there.
yellow bear? There were some potential penalties there, yes. When the algae was, they did something, and stuff.
yes, and that's not our jurisdiction, believe it or not. That is the DNR's.
Okay, I think, I'd like Chris to find out, I mean, I don't know why we have these things. You know, we've gone through a lot of work on this stuff, this MS4 stuff, if they're, how do we tell somebody not to do it and make them clean up that green, you know? Clean up any.
At this point, from what I understand from the training that I had to go through for the state and federal certifications, the goal right now, and that's like the public outreach that we just had, is to inform people, make people understand that everything that they do, we don't have storm drains, but what we do have is we have runoff.
Right.
I should have brought the stuff with me that we handed out. And it just talks about everything from dog waste to fertilizer, car washing, all that stuff trickles down and ultimately, especially on the Lakeshore Drive, both sides of Lakeshore Drive, ultimately goes into the drinking water. Like back at my house, when I wash my car, it just, you know, the water goes down and it goes in a drain. It's the town drain by my house. So it's the goal of the early stages, at least I'm gonna call the town Long Beach in the early stages of this is to understand the regulations. And then not necessarily enforce, but to inform.
If the town doesn't maintain its drains, there's some penalty for us.
Every year, our permit is a 5-year permit. And every year there's an inspection or we have to file a form with the state. And then they come and they do an audit of the town. Last year, our audit was clean except for 2 things. Our administrative audit was 100%. The other piece of the audit, we had a problem with our salt storage building, which we're working on. And there was our spill, emergency spill kit was not contained in a tub, basically. So those were the 2 things. So if we didn't do that, then we got a clean bill of health from the auditor that came up. I don't know, to be honest with you or frank with you, I don't know if we didn't pass our audit, what they would do.
Well, we were required to pass the ordinance or whatever.
Yes, that's right.
And there was some penalty for not doing that. Well, double secret probation or something. But
Right, and I guess we were proactive enough to make sure that we had people trained and make sure that we did our audit. Reggie helped us and she's gonna have a contract to be presented to the town council in January to do the same thing next year for us. Anything else on MS4? Coastal disease groups, we had 1 quarterly board meeting. There's nothing of significance there. The building department software, our goal is to implement that sometime in December, so that when people register for the new year, that they will register on the software and we'll start a permit process for the new year online. It was the meeting that Carter and Honor and I had this week. We discussed training for basically everybody here in the town, as well as the people on the building commission. It's a fairly, like any software, it depends on how deep into the weeds you want to get. It's a pretty simple process. It's driven by online, it's driven by point and click. So we'll come up with a date. Maybe we'll put it out, or maybe we should put an email out next week about trying to get a date for everybody that we can. And you would attend the training. We can do it here, do it on the screen, or we can attend the training by Zoom type meeting. That's how we train. We happen to do it at my office because I have a big screen for a monitor because I'm blind, but you know, we could do it. You guys could stay at home if you wanted to. So we'll try to get a date together so that you can take a look at it. Next on old business is 2207 Chassidon. Those citations remain outstanding. There has been some correspondence back and forth with the owners, but we don't have an end to that yet, I guess is the easiest thing to say.
This is the one, Chassidon.
Yes. 2135 Avondale, there was a 10-day letter sent. I know Chris sent that, copied that out to everybody. And we don't have, that's not resolved yet.
So in 10 days, there's fines against that,
The fine's already started. The fine started the day.
but then they start the day after the 10-day letter sent.
I'm gonna ask Chris.
10-day letters received, all that.
Based on how it was written, the position is that they, until we remove from one or second, so we sent the 10-day letter that we previously sent to others that says if they don't cure it, the town then has the ability to go ahead and cure it in the property and or add to the tax bill, that it was a little more serious over the. So the way they're written is those are, the code reads that those fines, they've already had a discussion in the previous period before I got Larry stopped by there and had discussions. We received a response and we'll see what happens. They're still in their 10-day period, so we'll see. Yeah, if they're not local, so that
Is there a provision in the ordinances for daily fines to start?
yeah, that's very, it's speaking.
Oh, it is, okay.
The 10-day letter, Bob, is
Oh, that's, and that was put in the letter as well, that in addition to fines that continue to accrue and other remedies that are available to the town will also authorize to come in and review
How about a 10-day letter on 2207 Chassidon? That's,
no, it is not.
it should be, looking at these emails, I just keep the feeling that we put off.
it.
That's what constitutes coverage, if it's seminary letter thing. Where's the ordinance, what's coverage and what isn't, so.
And I have sent them copies of the ordinances with the highlighted sections.
But I don't think there is a list of what constitutes coverage, it's sort of a common sense thing.
Yeah, there is. It says basically anything that's man-made structure placed in, on, or above, or whatever it is a structure. And it differentiates between subsurface and surface structures, and the only things that are covered under the coverage thing are surface structures. So a sprinkler system or septic system is not. Anything else is placed on, and it goes through a bunch of
Big rocks,
things.
big rocks, and man-made.
Technically, well, but
I think it says man-made or placed. I think it says man-made or placed, so landscaping counts when you read it. I suppose if you got Chris involved or somebody, you could make that argument.
Yeah, anything else sort of would be like,
Sure.
invested. And it's been up for at least a month, right?
Yes.
I guess it's,
Carter says 3 months.
okay, I guess it's fine, so I didn't even look into the 10-day letter.
Okay,
I guess it's up to us as to what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we have,
It's not in the rocks.
okay.
there are things there that were not on their permit, and we told them as soon as they did it, that it was not on their permit, and then they were cited. And, there has not been very good cooperation in there.
Fines have been paid, right? No.
No,
I think it's kind of stuff that's around.
okay,
I think that's reasonable.
We're the decision, so.
I don't need to get sued, we jump through all the hoops that we need to do before we do this.
I haven't been involved, know that, we certainly.
I'll talk to, how about this,
Prior, if we meet it, then, we'll talk about that, we'll just send them that, and then, eventually, there'll be that.
Yeah.
all right, well, I'll get with Chris this week then and get the information, so we can figure out what the 10-day letter should say. 2933 is the same thing. That's the one where they did the work. We cited them for doing work without a permit, and the application isn't correct. And they said that they were gonna go to the BZA, and that has not been done yet.
That seems like, plus,
3 months at least.
well, so maybe we should send a 10-day letter to East Coast saying, say you're going to BZA, haven't done it. Therefore, you get another, Chris about it.
Okay. All right, I'll get with Chris on that next week too. Next up is 2226 Oriole. They finally got their survey. And what I included in the minutes is a copy of what the survey showed. If you look at, there's 2 columns on the right-hand side. Currently, they're at 42% coverage. And what they're proposed to do would put them at 35.76 coverage.
What do they propose to take out?
What they're gonna do is they're gonna take out the concrete walks in the drive and take the pavers out of the drive.
They're not increasing any other structure.
No,
Where are they gonna park?
pardon me, Joe.
Where are they gonna park?
They're gonna park on their lawn.
After it's been a driveway, can it become permeable lawn?
But then they don't have 3 parking spaces.
No,
Those parking spaces need to be hard surface.
Yeah.
they're, okay,
They've got problems.
I don't remember, do they have a garage?
Yes, they have their own car. Yes.
For the permit, I would say that something needs to be denied. And the reason is you don't have, it's free, doesn't it?
Right, this was existing construction, it wasn't new, so and Pete knows more about this than I do. So I'll just give you the background on how it started. So they came in and they brought us a permit. They had a survey with coverage on it, and we said, you're over 35%. So then they came back, I don't know for sure, but let's say a month later, and they had changed their plan to meet 35% coverage.
So that didn't include really hard skates, driving, parking place, correct?
You know what, Bob, I can't say that.
I think it's what I think it's fine. Yes.
They had a driveway there. So what happened was we went out to the job and they, for whatever reason, everybody was not in the town, but between the owner and the contractor, the contractor said, well, we made a mistake. They were building to the original plan, that we said that wouldn't work. So then we met with, they do have a garage. So then we met with, okay, then we met with the contractor and explained to him that you can't do this, and he was upset and said, you know, I got these brick walls and whatever, and I said, well, you know, the only other thing you can do is apply for a variance. So they decided to not go for a variance and remove the work and put it the way it was on the drawings. So when the job goes on, there was another project inside the house, so there was interior construction going on. So the job goes on, and there was a question as to the accuracy of the survey and the accuracy of the 35%. So over the course of probably 3 or 4 months, the owner tried to get one of the local surveyors to do a survey. So he finally got a hold of Fate and was able to have them do a survey. And in the meantime, the people who had originally done the survey, which I think was Sawyer, completed the other also completed the survey. So when you look at the column that says current on the minutes, that shows what the survey is today. And their coverage is over. That's with the concrete walks and the drive at 909 and the drive pavers at 72. So what they're proposing is to take the concrete walks and the drive out and take the pavers out of the drive, which would leave them at 35.76% in coverage. So what you guys, pardon me? Yes.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it's gone or not.
that takes away the parking.
Right, so I did not bring that up to them, the parking places. You know, I know that they have one in the garage, at least from what we've seen.
It's built pretty close to one point. So there would be one space in the garage, and the driveway that exists now, or existed before they built all the county one. And the rest is, they also, they put additional, parking spaces, adjacent to Oriole without a permit. And now we're saying they're gonna be good and get them out. This has just been one. Plus, they go around, hoping we're going to get. They work, we gave them a stop work order, they continue to work in the house. I walked by it several times. They lived in the house. We haven't given them a permit to do, we haven't given them a CO. This is just,
I think
and I don't believe these numbers, to be honest. They were, removing the concrete wall, that was on the original goal was to remove the concrete wall. And that was how they were going to achieve some level. And that wasn't. So they didn't build it according to the way it was proposed. Start stripping out stuff, and they put more in. And as you remember, I walked out there, the first iteration of this, they had built it, inside a setback. Inside that road.
It was, yes, it encroached into the side yard setback.
I think it was almost into the neighbor's property, but certainly the setback.
Yes.
I think at the last meeting, though, we discussed the stop work order, and both Paige and Pat said they hadn't received one, so I don't know if that was ever followed up on. Remember where she said they never got one? So I don't know that Carter, if they ever, I don't know. So, I mean, that's not in the mix if they didn't get one. I didn't know if you issued one or if they just didn't get it. Even with all these changes,
We issued it.
Okay.
even with everything they've submitted, it's still above 35%. So how do we prove that at this level?
I I'm not sure that this is an approval. I think it's more of an enforcement to the 35%. So
And parking.
I think, what was not done was, and I didn't address the parking places. So I guess I'm asking, it sounds like you want me to address, or you want Carter and I to address the parking places. In other words, if you get this to 35% by removing all your parking places, you've changed the violation from a 35% violation to, I don't know if they had 3 parking places before, but they certainly had 2. So I think what you're asking is that we go back and say, look, you have to have 2 parking places, you have to be at 35%.
But if they're saying they're just gonna park on the grass, that doesn't count, because we need a hard.
Right, they have 1 in the garage, but, so I'll go back to them with
Did
the
you
parking
see,
places.
see the actual survey?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's where we gotta start.
And they did decrease the coverage of the RAV 42.
Yes,
So it's very possible if you added 2 parking places, it's still be increasing the coverage. So that may be a solution for that.
I'll bring it up to them, and I'll also ask, Pat for a copy of the survey. Anything else on this one? Next up is the, permit timing.
Well, I'd like to go back to this one. This is,
Okay,
why are they not being cited for this? I mean,
Well-
this is 9 months at least of thinking around. You're wasting a lot of your time. My stomach. And these are these situations where we get into these, trying to be too nice to. I mean, they put us off so many times on this. Everybody else is coming to do surveys. From these people. And as I said, they do not have a certificate of occupancy, and they continue to work. They live there during the summertime, on weekends.
They asked if we would find a bathroom, they didn't find a bathroom, and the next one, everything. They were down with the landscape, on what we ever gave them, it's.
right.
Living in the place without a certificate of occupancy is a violation, right?
Yeah.
So we probably need to make that violation. Yeah, I think we need to tell them that before you're gonna get a certificate of occupancy, you need to resolve these issues.
Well, the only time they lived there was a summer.
Yeah.
So they came and went. I never documented it and did it because I kept going around in circles for this and trying to accommodate them in every way, shape, and form. I personally see the survey, see where the septic system is. That's another thing we can respond to. Sure.
Okay, so I'll ask for a copy of the survey. I'll address the parking, but they have the parking spaces and the 35%.
Just as an aside, it is the contractor and homeowner's total and complete responsibility to understand the ordinances. Not for us to, make trade-offs and say, oh, well, we didn't tell you about the parking spaces. They're supposed to know that. That's part of when they read, when they set the whole thing up, lawyer after architect after lawyer looks at these things and they say, how many times have we gotten the feedback that says, here's all the things you need, and I think this was one of them. But I'm not sure. In any case, it's their responsibility. So you don't need to make any kind of accommodation. They're supposed to understand that the 3 parking spaces are required for the service. And this is one of the reasons to get rid of the maybe plan review. Another situation will come back here and say, well, Larry told me this.
These guys, yes, that's true. Every time Carter gets a call or Honor gets a call, it will be, well, Larry said this, and then Carter hears, well, Honor said this. So I do agree with you there. All right, well, I will address these three items with them Monday. Anything else on this one? Next up is permit timing. We discussed it last meeting, and we talked about 10 days instead of the Friday before. And after that, when we were going through some other issues, I found that we actually have in the ordinance, in our ordinances, a time frame, which I sent out to everybody. I sent it again yesterday. In the ordinance, actually, and I'm not going to read the whole ordinance. The ordinance says, for all major improvements upon receipt of the required documents and authorizations, a minimum review period of 30 days after the date of the next regularly scheduled building commission meeting is required. And what that actually solves our problem that we've had with projects coming in. A lot of the projects are just simple that we can do, but projects coming in on the Friday before our meeting without enough time to review them. So we really don't have to change anything. This is in the ordinance. It's 151.037. That's C6D. So that takes care of that.
Except that on our permit act, or excuse me, for building permit requirement thing, we say, permit application must be received by the Friday before the meeting in order to be considered and reviewed after. So that makes a change.
Right. I think what we should do is just put this, saying what's already in the ordinance. Wouldn't that be the easiest thing to do?
I think so.
Okay. The cutoff date for basic permits is fine. Having everybody get them in here before, the Friday before, because those are approvable without coming to this meeting. And it usually doesn't put Carter or Honor or myself in a bind when we get those. So I don't know if anybody wants to have any discussion about that. I think what we'll do is we will send this, we'll change the building permit requirements online. Honor, I don't know, can you do that? Who changes the stuff online?
I mean, it's just a form that needs to change.
Okay, so we can take the form that's on there and just change it. Can you facilitate that? I'm not putting it on you, but okay, if you would just facilitate that. And then, unless anybody wants to change this, we will put what I sent to you guys out to everybody in a email blast next week.
We've got one title on here in here, I don't know if you that on our one page, one. Says we have any words that can be done with them. Maybe it should be involved, that's not involved.
I'm sorry, Joy.
Number one, the current procedure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then number one, it says do not invoice it.
Oh, yes.
And then right in the beginning, we wanted to make sure we're to all registered contractors in the town of Long Beach.
Okay.
And I think what I gave you, you can't change because I think you probably just cited the ordinance. Is that correct? And most of,
Well, this.
oh, I
ordinance is
see.
cited.
Okay.
below number 2.
Yeah, so,
Everything above number 2 is, we can change to whatever we want. And that's what I've got yours in front of me, Lena.
yeah,
The things where the corrections there. And then the ordinance starts to everything under.
yeah, so just ignore, yeah.
Just leave that one alone.
And then I just, capitalized building commission in the second paragraph.
Mhm.
And in the, where 1, it says 10 working days before the regularly scheduled building commission meeting.
I better get after my secretary.
You better. That's it.
Okay. Anything else on the permit timing? Or? 1601 Lakeshore Drive. At the last meeting, we approved this with the, condition that, either Carter or I go out and take a look. Carter met with the contractor on site, and they're actually decreasing the coverage. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Carter?
No, it's gonna go 5 inches less. They're not increasing in any size, and I had them, give us an email to say that.
So with that, we'll just approve this one. You guys already voted to approve it. We were satisfied that they weren't going to increase the coverage, or it was actually, Bob, you brought it up, it was the volume increase in the setback.
That's the 1601.
That's 1601 Lakeshore Drive, so, pardon me, it has. Next up is the 3100 Lakeshore Drive. Joe didn't want us to call it that. I should call it Stop 31. We have not received any communication from the Shoreland Hills Association, so.
Well, I got one question. Number one, they have signs plastered all over. You have two homes in there, those signs are really. You don't see those signs for different stuff. But those signs need to come in. And it doesn't matter who sign or issue. As far as ownership, must be established. Building it there, we have ordinances that say we can't build it there, any structure on the property that doesn't have a principal residence. And that doesn't have a principal residence. So we denied people doing, what you call it, landscaping, decks, overviews, everything like that. Until and unless that zoning lot is, combined with a home with a principal structure. So we are extending it there into another piece of property is not according to the ordinance. And as a precedent, we've already denied several properties, particularly of developing things that want to own that we combined 2 lots. And it was going to be one thing and then home for a grandparent, and then part of a garage. We made them they for a garage, and that we associated with the principal residence on the adjacent lot. And we've done that on multiple occasions.
They haven't done any construction.
No, when they came in, we brought up to them that there was an ownership. I don't know if it's ownership jurisdiction, whatever you want to call it. There was an ownership issue as to whether or not that property was owned by the Shoreland Hills Association or it is Stop 31, that big public access, just like the other public access. And we have not heard anything. Chris and I talked this week about it, and Chris hasn't heard anything from any of their people, so.
So it's an incomplete application, and we should take off the agenda until we can move.
Okay.
And
We're denying, we'll do.
I'd say that mine.
Well, we said that we're gonna consider applications complete. This one is not complete, right? Hopefully you consistent.
And the other issue there is Lakeshore Drive is the only throughway in the town that has a 50-foot right of way. And the fence that's there, I believe, is in the right of way. I haven't measured it, but in general, when you pass things, that fence that is parallel to Lakeshore Drive is in the right.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is you want me to contact them about the signs being removed and then the fence in the right of way.
And the ordinance that says you can't build any structure on property, it's part of the principal residence.
Okay,
But it's like, made in one zone, but it needs to be a residence on that property, somewhere in that property. And a porta potty doesn't make.
okay. Next up is 2515 Glendale. That's the drawing that's out in front of everybody. This came up at the last meeting, and our option was to either issue the permit or deny the permit because it was over 35%. There was a representative of the owner here and said that they would bring back, they would redesign it and bring back so that the coverage was under 30 or at 35% or less. The drawing that you have in front of you is that drawing that puts it at 35%.
And can you see what's changed down there? Because I tried to compare the road and green, but I found nothing different.
You know, I'm gonna let Carter speak to that because he's actually met with them a couple of times.
Well,
Was the artificial turf removed? Is that how they got in contact?
they dropped it down to 35%. I think there was an email trail and I'm not sure who, maybe it was Bob. Talked about the permeable, the artificial turf is coming.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's removing that, and I thought, no. Is that not? It's partially removed, but that covers that side. Yeah, make sure.
Yeah, they recognize you.
Go ahead, Carter.
So he partially removed it to bring it down. Where was that? The rock. This, I believe this one there was the meeting.
This area? Let's see, hopefully I'll be able to bring this up so you can see both.
I don't see any road over there. Is the area that's staying closest to the driveway, is that what's remaining artificial turf?
Sorry. What is that?
The area next to the driveway,
Yes. That area.
You have to just tell us who you are. And,
There you go. I am Jim Leahy. I'm the owner of the company.
Also, there was brick that was removed. The driveway was shortened. So I'm gonna show you a picture of it.
Okay, there's the drawing. This is the drawing that was submitted previously, is up on the screen now. And you can see, I don't know if I can get my mouse to go the right way. And you probably can't see my mouse.
Yeah.
This area has changed. I'll bring up the new drawing now.
Okay.
You can see on the drawing in front of you, you see what's cut out, Bob? If you look at the two green squares, the one on the screen, the green square, and then there's an area beneath that my mouse is moving around in. That's been removed.
We skinnied up the driveway.
And the coverage now is at 35%.
According to the drawing that we have in front of us, yes. Hold on, I'll put the other, I'm not sophisticated enough to do them side by side, sorry. This is the new drawing. So this section to the left of or below the green square, which I'm assuming is some plantings. And what are these brown things that are there?
Those are stepping stones.
So according to this, Bob, the coverage is at 35%.
And the only issue I have is coverage, but that's fixed, I make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
Bob, Anita, seconded, all those in favor, aye. Or Joy, seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Thank you.
see ya. Town court on number 20, that was, Joe called me this morning and said that was already approved. They may already be done.
That's how.
You have to wait till, I don't know, when we get the permit done.
Oh, you will get the permit.
Okay. So it will be next week.
Yeah, it should be next week. There's no-
I'd like to start Monday.
Yeah, it'll be next week. I just don't know if it'll be Monday. Uh, 24 time. That was already approved. I think it's already done. I just made a mistake. One of many I make every day. Okay, let's get out of here. Oh, I get back.
So spiral staircases outside the house.
Yes, so, this was the one with the spiral staircase, 3007 Moore Road. And, so we denied the permit. Carter went to talk to them, he took a picture as well and sent it to me. The spiral staircase is going on top of an existing concrete slab.
And it's an outdoor spiral staircase.
It is an out, yes, I could probably show you on here if you'd like to see it.
So to me, that would be wrong.
It's definitely, I mean, it's encroaching, but I'm not trying to make an excuse for anything, but those are if everybody remembers correctly, those were the properties that were brought into the town, and they're probably 90% coverage, all three of them.
permit.
I'll bring this up. Okay, so if you look at this, you see Lakeshore Drive on the top of the screen here. See where my mouse is? This is the old real estate office. And then right behind it is this building. And if you look, you can see where the lot line is. This is all a concrete pad here. And the spiral staircase is gonna go on top of that pad so that they can get on and off the upper deck.
There it is. So.
I can't, unfortunately, I can't zoom up anymore. Let's see if I can get some pictures here.
Sorry.
Okay, can you see this? Maybe this is a little easier for everybody to see. See this concrete walkway? This is the door to get into the lower level, and the concrete extends beyond that. They want to put the staircase on top of that concrete so that they can get up onto this.
Deck, and there's the second story. So they walk that way.
Seems to me if it's already over existing coverage, it's approvable.
Right, they're not increasing any coverage. Our original thought was that they were increasing the coverage in the setback. And they're not, it's the same, they're just going on top of what's there.
I would move to approve.
Is this stairwell in the setback?
Yes, it will be.
And existing. So this is gonna look like the house Jack has. There's nothing out of it that says it can't do.
Right.
Well, I mean, if it's in the setback, we have conditions for placing things in setbacks, walkways and other things.
I've already got, yeah, they've already got.
It's already existing in the setback. The coverage.
I'd say it's a walkway, but it's allows. I'm, somebody else has this question there.
Is that issue about stairways and walkways in the setback just exclusive to Lakeshore Drive?
No, I can't cite it verbatim, but we allow at grade stairs and walks to encroach into the setback 48 inches at grade.
And this pad is at grade.
But the stairway, the sort
So the stairway is only,
Right.
so that would be. Right? Am I thinking of that right?
I think yes, agree.
Because right now we allow things in grade in the setback, and they have a thing in grade. But they want something on that pad that is not gonna be in grade.
Right.
So we have a motion.
We have a motion to approve by Joyce and it was seconded. I seconded it.
But, I mean, if this is an item that is not a grade going in the setback, that is in violation of our ordinance. We can't approve it.
Okay,
Would anybody like to rescind their motion? I'll withdraw my motion. I'll make a motion to deny.
okay.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed? I'm sorry. Opposed? Yeah. Ken? Permits denied. 2904 Oriole Trail. I didn't put the description, do you? Oh, wait, it's in here.
It was just a replace and repair.
I'm sorry, I thought it was in, do you remember what this was?
To remove and replace 6x6 timbers.
Oh, okay, yes. So, the question was, this was the 14,000 that went to the 7,000, Bob, I remember that. So the question was, is it just a remove and replace? So Carter went out and took a look and, it is just a remove and replace. I actually have some pictures here if you'd like to see them.
Well, if this is just a remove and replace,
Right, it was, the permit or the drawing that they sent in, the site plan just had a highlighted area. So we really didn't know what it is. This is a picture that Carter took, I think it was yesterday or day before. And you can see the 6x6s in the back here that are, some of them are rotted, some of them are,
it's a remove and replace,
yes,
I recommend we approve it.
okay.
And the cost is reasonable. The prices.
No, but, I mean, I don't know what you want to do. I mean, they actually had 14,000 on it, they crossed it out with $7,000. Is this the way to that?
Yeah.
If he's doing it himself, probably $7,000 is what he's gonna pay for the material. So, if he was paying somebody to do it, I think it would be more than that. No, he was gonna do it himself. Pete made the motion, or you'll second, Bob? Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Gary, you're the 2907 Belle Plaine.
2707.
What is it? 2707, sorry.
2903 was, did we skip that one?
Yeah,
Minutes.
that's the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2903 Mount Clair Way. At the last meeting, the job was discussed, basically what happened. There was an original permit that was granted, and then they decided that they didn't want to do that anymore. So they redrew the drawings and came up with a different plan, which met our ordinances, but we didn't have a copy of the septic permit. The septic permit, I don't know if it was the next day or day before, day after was submitted. So we now have that. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye. Oh, same sign. Okay, next up is it, what did you say, under 2707, it's 2707 Belle Plaine. This was a job for Gary as well. At the last meeting, there was two items that needed attention. One was the cost of the work was to be updated, and then there was discussion about the view protection ordinance. In looking at it, and I'll bring it up here. Hold on. This is the property that the permit is on, the one to the lower left on the page.
It's the old one stuff.
Yes, that's right. And this is the property that would, I'm gonna call it east, that's up to the top right of the page. So the view protection ordinance on the golf course, and Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, requires that no structure can extend beyond, if you take a line between your neighbor's house and your house, no structure can, on the golf course, can extend beyond that. So what that would mean is if you took a, can you see my mouse here? Can you guys see my mouse moving around?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would mean you take a line from that corner of the house to, Gary, I'm assuming this is the,
Yeah, that's the,
that's the corner
that's the,
where the screen portion
well, the screen porch actually will go.
is gonna go here.
This is a flat.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that is that.
Right, so you would draw a line between these two and nothing could be built towards the golf course from that. So what that, in looking at it, what that means for you is that outlook deck just has to, you just have to pull the line.
Sure, you know that's activated, it still hasn't.
It has, right, so that outlook deck, you'll have to, whether you could do it on a survey or you go out and physically do it, that outlook deck can't be. What else?
Did the price of the project get?
Oh, you were talking about, you
These are a series of small projects, I'll give you one. What I anticipate.
know what, Gary, you know the drill, you gotta come up and tell us who you are.
Gary Green, Geo Green.
You turned it off.
Geo Green from, Gary Green from Geo Green Associates for Pat Nolan. So I did put together, this is a series of small projects. So I had to break down what I anticipate the cost to be, if you want.
I think at the time you had said that there was nothing that you were gonna re-roof something.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only thing that was included.
So.
Again, for me, it's $75,000, fair amount of dollars, but it's all fairly small projects.
We get interrupted here. So last time, I think you said the only thing you didn't have was the cost of the roofing, right? Okay, and that's on your sheet here.
And we are reusing a lot of materials, so there are some paths and patterns that are out there right now that are really in disrepair, so we're reusing a lot of the materials that are out there for that stuff.
We'll pass this down to you guys, so you can see it when you're.
And if you're not comfortable, I can add, $25,000 to it to add to that's not my intention, it's not the $250, yeah.
I think you were here for the discussion.
Yeah.
And it's, in general, this is really for everybody here, in general, we get a lot of permits, probably half of our permits come in here with arbitrary numbers on them. I think the discussion, and you guys can continue it or correct me if I'm wrong, the discussion was, Ken, I think you had said, and me being in this business, I usually just, whatever my price is that's what I put on the permit. I may round it up 1,000 or whatever, depending to meet whatever the thing is. The concern is over time, and Ken, I think you had some discussion about this, is these permits go to the LaPorte County, and then they make the decision as to whether or not they will increase the assessment or the assessed value. Every month, all of our permits go to them. So the other thing that I never really understood about it, and this is really not me talking as a building commissioner, but as a builder, I don't understand why somebody wouldn't put the, right. I mean, it's the owner pays for the permit and you just go about doing it. So, we have the option of, according to the ordinance, there is no, I don't have it in front of me. Chris and I talked about this, I think. I think the ordinance says that the building commission will determine the dollar value of the project. You know, how do you do that? There are books that contractors use, Gary might use it, I use it. If I'm bidding a job, I don't use that book to bid my job, then to make sure that I'm in line. There's what's called the Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, in a large publishing concern puts out what's called a cost versus value schedule every year. And they list projects, they'll put decks, they'll put windows, they'll put kitchens. And they say, this is what this costs in 5 different areas of the United States. And, you know, then it's what you recoup. I don't really want to create a situation where Carter and I, or even you guys have to go in and say to somebody, hey, you know, we're gonna price your project. But, Bob, as you had mentioned with the timbers, if that individual was paying somebody to do those timbers, that would be a $25,000 job, just from looking. I mean, Carter would probably agree with me. Carter's been in this business as long as I have. So, I don't know what you guys want to do about it. I mean, we can either continue to go as we've gone and we rely on the permit applicant to give us an honest price, or if we see something like Bob, you saw the one with the timbers and you mentioned on this one, if we see something that we think is extraordinary or out of the ordinary that doesn't match what we really think should be, we have the option of saying, look, you know, this permit is going to be based on this dollar. I think those are the only 2 options that we have.
The ordinance says that this committee is supposed to come up with that. I would suggest that Carter look at the book, figure out what that is, and that's what we should base the permit. And you may want to charge them more, because. Yeah.
I mean, at this point in time. Yeah, permit fees, as Larry knows, he never retired.
I think that book gives you some guidance.
Well, it doesn't give guidance for permit fees. What that does is it gives people in the construction business, hey, if all of a sudden, I mean, I just did a job yesterday I've been working on for 2 years. And, you know, this is my price. And I'm not going to change my price, but I want to see where that falls in if I look at everything else. Construction costs, when you look at the cost of building a new house. In this area right now, it's between $350 and $500 a square foot. So if somebody was to come in here and tell us that they're going to build a new house and it's going to be $150 or $200 a square foot, they're not being honest with you.
I think we should use the guidance that we have as far as the assessor's office. I don't know if we necessarily need to change the value on here. I think our obligation is to make sure the town gets paid for the permit, because the town uses that money to pay you a Carter, and I don't want to see the town losing money on the building permit. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. So I think that answers the both questions that we had on 2707 Belle Plaine. Let me pass this, pass that down.
So the site plan, calculations, are all good.
Yeah, this is a very large piece of property. I don't remember what.
Yeah, I think our calculation was everything, although we were reducing, I don't know that. Sorry?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Bob, or who's second? Anybody second?
I suggest it first, because I'm not making this decision about, that's the committee's job. So I'm going harder at the book and base the permit fee on what the book tells you issue. That's my motion.
Okay,
I second it.
okay, Pete, any others or any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, Pete? Do you have a motion to approve the 2706?
I'll send it.
Um,
I've already said that.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
I,
And I'll second Gary. Okay, next up, new business. And I may ask Joy to chime in here for a second. So what happened is a couple of people had come to the building commission and asked if they could use the stop 24 access for heavy equipment to do work on either their home. Most of them need to do some work on their homes. Most of it is demolition or, as we did with the town Stop 18, when that project was being finalized, the town allowed the contractor to go down to the beach. So this was discussed at the last council meeting, and I didn't attend, so what I understand was they said that the town council voted that yes, that it could be used, but it wouldn't be, and that's why I need your.
Yes, we want building commission's approval and specifications on details, like you noted here, like a $25,000 bond, et cetera.
So that's what we're tasked with or charged with today, is what do we want to, Chris has a, and I'm not speaking for him, but we have something that you did before, right?
Yeah, the hope is that you have some progress and just dovetailing off what Joy said, the council considered it. They said generally were in favor of this, but subject to the building commission approving the details of it. She's authorized to sign. What we have done in the past successfully is have a license agreement that gives them access, requires indemnification in the town. And then there were some details like the bond amount or those kinds of things that you may want to up so that as the beach stops are improved, that there aren't damage, and if so, there's proper methods. So I think most of it is in place. It's adding some things that this building commission for things that you're aware of or can think of to add to that, so that Joy as council president has authorization. And then the hope is to kind of not that it happens very often, but to streamline this process so that not each project has to go to the council, which is why the council entrusted you to come up with the details.
That's, okay, so
what kind of heavy equipment is gonna be down there, and is there a clear path without one of those boulders?
Yeah, it's with gravel trail, straight on, looked at it the other day, but it's a straight trail, straight down,
You
down to the beach.
I'll bring it right
straight down, but not the curve.
There's the curve part, and then there's a straight down to the beach part.
Okay, and there's no boulders or rocks or anything.
And we have to mess up, I was worried. I would also suggest that we decide this is gonna be okay, that we limit this to the months of October through March.
okay.
The other thought I had too was making sure that Chief Swistek, the town administrator, you've got the street commission, but make sure that they're aware of what's happening, on the street, or if there's, I know you said a bond, but street damage or street control of lining up vehicles or whatever.
In talking with Tom, Dolph, myself, Chief Swistek, and some of the people who have used it in the past. So here it is on the screen. Right now, I'll walk up there so that I can make more sense out. Like my cardiologist, like this. So right now, there are two, and everybody sees this, but you probably don't pay attention. There are two 6x6s that are bolted in brackets, so the people can't drive down them. So those have to be taken out, and I think included in this, it should be the time to take those out. We want people down there, hey, I got approval, I'm gonna take those out and put them back in and lose the stuff, they follow them up. So that's what stops access now. So right now, this was built in, I wasn't around when they did this, but this is a gravel roadway. It's actually a walkway, and it's in fairly good shape. It's not, it hasn't been used a lot by heavy equipment, so it's flat. You can walk up and down, you can pull a wagon up and down. And then this comes down in high water times, this is all rock. So you can see right now where this is the picture from March. They're able to steps. The steps are right here.
Well, the steps are on the beach, so they have a, stone steps.
Those are right here.
So doesn't that trail, where you take the workers to the left, isn't it?
Right, so what happened, when the water's up, you can see the sand starting to cover all the snow. When the water's up, this is a continuous burn of shot rock or armor stone, whatever they call it. So when the last permission that was given was just a singular permission was given to Woodruff when they came down to do that project in South 18, finalized the stone. So what they did was they brought in sand and put it over this. So that when they went over the rock, and you know, the rock came back and forth. The police department uses this access to bring their four-wheelers down. Their four-wheelers aren't gonna do any damage here nor here. So the reason our street bond is only 5,000. Is it 5 or 10? 5. I think our street bond is only $5,000. So if you're cutting across and you get into somebody's driveway that's 20 feet wide, $5,000. If you bring equipment down here and you bung this up, and everybody sees what the big excavators are on the track. So as they turn, one track rolls, the other track doesn't. So what that does is it creates a binding motion. My concern is we don't want to have inside of 2 or 3 years, this thing have 2 big ruts in it. And then, you know, when you bring your kids down and you've got a wagon or you're trying to get your stuff down, it's all uneven. So my thought was to increase the bond to $25,000. And basically what that does is if you screw this up and you don't fix it, then you go to the town and go to the bond company and they don't pay up to $25,000. And the same thing down here. So this stand that makes this look like a road was brought in by Woodruff and he did that. So if we grant somebody else an access, this one, next one, whatever, the same thing, we're gonna wanna make sure that they bring sand down. Now, we don't, at least I don't think it would be necessary to make them remove it because the sand is easy for people to walk over. And if the water comes up, they're not gonna disturb the rock. But if somebody comes down here and disturbs the rock, that's another part of 25,000. If they did a lot of damage down here, it would be a lot more than 25,000, but I think that's why we have to monitor it. So everybody sees the parking's here. There's a wood bench, 2 wood benches right here. Actually, about a month and a half ago, somebody came through here and drove right, ran over the bench and was hanging off that wall. This is the outlook, this is the walkway, these are the steps down to the beach, and as Bob mentioned, there's some big limestone steps or slabs down here.
I've been down there last week. I think that they're now, because this is like an old picture.
This is from like March, I mean,
I think there's now gravel trail to the left of where these heavy limestone steps are going down to the beach.
here or here,
To the left of where the steps. Well, right
here,
yeah, they're going toward the beach.
it's out here.
Yeah, the steps are here. I think it goes like here. So I think they can bring that down without even endangering those steps. At least that's what I saw.
And
What are they bringing down?
well, and that was another thing that we added onto the list was we have to, we're gonna want to see, they're gonna tell us what they're gonna bring down. When you look at what most people think of as an excavator or a backhoe, let's say that Woodruff brought down there. That was a good sized machine, it probably had tracks that were 18 inches to 2 feet wide. So the disbursement, or that you're carrying that weight over a pretty wide, area. When you get smaller pieces of equipment, like a little skid steer or something, you have more that load is a little more concentrated. And it's,
How long will they be on?
well, we can, I didn't have any of that in here. I'll read you what I got. $25,000 bond. Require approval from the street superintendent. I think we should know the type of equipment. The size and weight of conveyance, is it, size, weight, and type? So is it wheeled, is it tracked? The access is not for daily use. In other words, if you're gonna come down and you're gonna work on, some, whatever property that you're gonna work on, you have to make provisions for that equipment to stay where it's at, rather than bringing it up every day. That's what's gonna tear the thing up, and I don't know, maybe that's not the right thing to do. The other thing that I think we wanna make sure of is that you're not using this to bring debris up. If you're doing some demolition or whatever, and you're gonna tear it apart from the house down, you know, I don't think this should be used as a daily track up and down. That's what's gonna do some damage. And the access cannot be used as a staging area, which, what I'm thinking of is, and this is what Woodard did, they staged material to bring down to the beach. And I guess it's a little bit, I don't know, but that was for the town, so I guess it was okay. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? Well, this is everybody's been down here. This is where everybody, not everybody, a lot of people pull every day, they pull up to watch the sunset. It is a very highly used access for the beach by families throughout the town. They park here in the public area and they go down there. So, do we want to add anything else to this? And then,
We need a picture for it.
okay,
As Rob said, October, March, for them to just.
I think the beach protection ordinance addresses where they can park their buildings. I think that's what I'm trying to do.
I think the park board is gonna spend,
Who wants to use?
just show, do it.
I think the park board is gonna spend a lot of money to revamp Stop 24 over time, so I think maybe we could run it past them in case they're having fun.
Okay. Good idea.
Shadow lips, I want to make sure they're gonna be down there. And during the day, because there's still people walking down.
Well, I don't think that it should be daily use.
But I mean, the day that they bring it down, the day they bring it up. We want to make sure it's not at noon time.
Well, I do think with Dr. Lemay, we need to make sure that there were certain timeframes. But at the end of the day, you're still giving them a license that says it has to be in the same or better. Because you can make this a 20-page document, or the 1 to 2-page document that it has been, which ultimately what you do care about is it's twofold. You're trying to accommodate your residents so that they can maintain and improve and take care of their homes, because I believe one of them has to do with board and taking samples so they can see if they have a new septic system, right? So you want to accommodate that without making it too cumbersome, but not getting stuck in the people who take advantage. But again, the simplicity of it is making sure it's in the same or better condition, as long as they have a proper bond. We have before and after pictures. And we, the park board did run into some issues on one of these licenses with some trees that got planted and some stones that were placed. But I think the overriding that if we take care of that, just being careful that we don't turn this into a 20-page document or a new town code too.
According to the shoreline protection ordinance, heavy equipment access permits must be obtained from the town regardless of all the access to the beach. Photographs of the proposed construction site of the building condition before the access permit is issued. No work done will specify on the access permit application shall not perform. Permits are restricted to certain calendar days. Heavy equipment may remain in coastal zone for no more than 30 days. Extensions have been granted by the town. Right across, shown, you're in Labor Day, or maybe Labor Day, one day, be better.
Well, and maybe putting the onus on them to say when, so that you're not giving them a blanket Labor Day to Memorial Day, but for them to, but maybe they only need 7 days, right? I mean, I think that it should be the least, that addresses some of your intrusiveness issues. And when it says also being present in the coastal zone, that doesn't mean you want it sitting at the stop. That means present and down there, and we have zero authority to address whatever they might need from the public trust or Lakewood, right? That'll be a separate one, so I think it just basic language to make sure they're in compliance and have everything they need from other jurisdictions such as the DNR, and make sure they're in compliance with the town code. So again, our license is just to try to make sure they're on record and sign and give us proof of the heightened bond, and as well as adding those things that you want.
So what ordinance is that?
That's the shoreline protection.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, it's, 154.2.
0.20. You know, something else that as Chris mentioned, so we have jurisdiction up to the natural ordinary high water mark. The jurisdiction north or lakeward of the natural ordinary high water mark is the Department of Natural Resources and the Army Corps of Engineers. And what I don't want to have happen, which Chris told me has already happened at least once this year, is that someone said, oh, well, the building commissioner or Larry Wall said that you could do this and do that. But we can't give anybody permission to do anything north or lakeward of this building commission can't. It doesn't have jurisdiction north of the natural ordinary water. I don't know what happens when somebody brings a piece of equipment down here and they travel south or landward to natural ordinary water. What does that mean?
It's twofold, right? You require that they do, but we have zero enforcement actions unless they're using your property and you want to be proactive to stop that, and they don't respond or show you permission or a letter from the DNR that says they can access, then you can revoke your license, right? It'll have language in there that says if they don't use it in accordance with the agreement, it'll be revoked. So I think that's doing your part of the jurisdiction, unless you're much like not to go too far off this topic, but as the DNR has demonstrated as of late, whether like it or not, the sand removal issues is they are saying, hey, this is what's required or not required. You don't have to have an application for this, but you are subject to the town of Long Beach's jurisdiction and make sure you're in compliance. Then it's the best you could do. And if there's some violations, you see something and say something, then you, at worst, can revoke it if the DNR isn't responsive.
Anybody have anything else that they want to add or talk about? All right, then I'll just give, Chris already has it, but we'll go over this and then.
Joe already has the authorization to sign it. The council just wanted more input about the details. It's your there.
Everybody comfortable with that?
I just got one thing. This has been done before. You just mentioned Whittingham, the contract. Woodard? Yeah, in Woodard. So what was done there? Why are we going through all this?
That was done as part of a project that was approved and went through the town council.
Okay.
It wasn't private individuals.
And it involved the town, so there was cooperation between multiple parties, including the town, and the town derived a benefit for some of this work, so it was trying to figure out and parcel out each party's responsibility, and part of the consideration that the town brought was access. But as part of that, so that's one thing that's significantly different too. Different administrations do things a little bit differently, but this current council's feeling was, hey, this may or may not be, and so that every single one doesn't have to go to the town council. let's put it in the purview of those who are decision makers, and then try to get a form of license agreement so that if those, Mr. Green comes before you in the future and says, I'd like to have beach access, he can present it to you and you can approve it, and the town council president already has, authority to do it. It's trying to streamline it a little bit.
So on another related topic, when we did, the situation of bills, South 29, allowed access to the beach to South 28 down.
Yes.
Has that, and as I walk by there, I don't see any remediation of that hill.
Well, what happened there, and let me see if I can get this so I can explain it. You can see it while I'm explaining it. So there were several properties that benefited from that. So the town,
But when the project was done, that was supposed to be remediated.
well, it was, but the town also decided, here it is, right?
Okay, there's something else.
Yes, so if you look at this right up at the road where I'm circling, that's a planter that was put there. This was the access, the road. It was decided that it was a benefit to the town and to sometime maybe in the future, the residents of the town to leave that road there. So but the planter was put up top just so you wouldn't have people drive it down there. So that's a pretty good access, but right now it's not usable because of the planter that's there. But the road was left purposely.
There also is access to everything. East, or was it, yeah, east of 24, because of 26 now.
Right, so that was the road was left there with the approval of the town council purposely to allow for future use.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. One of the guys asked if I wanted to go down there to the rig. I said, no. Okay, well, Chris and I will get together and then, so the two projects that are requesting access right now at Stop 24 is one, it's Hackendall, it's Stop 25, and they need access for the state health department to review their septic conditions. The other one is a project at Schroeder is the name, and it is at 2036 Lakeshore Drive, and their access is to remove or to do the demolition on portions of front of their house, which they have a permit from us for decks. But
Again, since somebody, because they have an excavator and rubber.
well, they do, maybe they got it down the hill. I talked to him last week and he's still looking for it. So those are the two that prompted the whole start of this. Okay. Okay, 1918 Monrovia. Bridge, no, wait a minute. Is this Oh, that was incorrect. It's actually, it's 1918 Monrovia. I had Ridgemore on there. Joe corrected me. I'm sorry to send that back to you. And that's the same thing. It's a remove and replace, so that's approvable. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll do that.
Pete, second.
I'll second.
Joy. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 2202 Chastity, to remove and replace a concrete driveway. It's because it's a remove and replace, it's approvable. Carter went and checked to make sure that we're not in the same 2207 thing where the driveway's now 8 feet wider.
No, they're putting the retaining wall down all the way down to the. Yes. Was that?
No, their permit, hold on, their permit. Carter, did you see a retaining wall situation there?
And that brings up the general topic of what do we allow to go in the town right away? Are we allowing retaining walls to be put in?
You're saying there's a retaining wall, both, it's not permanent,
Sounds like that's what we're saying here.
we get that. Yeah, permanent doesn't say anything about retaining.
They are the 36 by 22 permeable pavers to put in, exact same size as the old development.
Right, there's nothing in here about a retaining wall.
It says something about pavers, but I don't see where the pavers are going. So the driveway is gonna be the same size, right?
I can't find that anywhere.
I think we need.
I would say that needs to be checked out.
Yeah.
From what I saw going in there. And certainly the issue of you can have rock wall going down to front Chestnut or in the right.
Yeah.
Is an issue. And I believe is that.
Yeah, we need more information regarding the pavers and the retaining wall. And then if there is a change in footprint, we'll get a site plan and coverage calculation.
No, there are people. Right. This is right there by the King Town, we call it Little King.
Little King. Yeah, this is the survey up here. Hold on, I'll bring up the,
I see a little hand. Is that your? Oh, I see.
Really small.
So you say they're working on it already in the fall? For the driveway?
Right on the chest.
Well, that shouldn't be happening, right?
no,
I think that, yeah, we need a citation, contract with them. And I think, you know what, that's happening, the citation and stop work.
all right, we'll cite them for working without a permit, but the other situation is the retaining walls, which is not a permit.
Let's go on. Well, it's.
They have the cover, okay, go ahead.
We didn't have. And we also some chance of we. Driveways and some of the sites.
There a second? Pete? Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next up is the tree. Did I miss something here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had too many notes. 2910 Bell Plain, it's repairing existing shed. The shed is in the setback. But they're not taking it out, they're just repairing it. Not according to the permit. You guys are getting me nervous because everybody's putting things in here that aren't happening. Or that are happening, that's not according to the permit. Hold on, I'll bring it up.
We have no changes in the height of the shed too, then we had that issue. Once before, since it's in the setback, and we be sure that shed's not in any problem.
Okay, so the repair, or the permit says just repair existing shed. Here's a survey.
I think it's motion to approve. But we can make sure that that's not getting any. We don't want something monkey cycles.
2910.
I don't wanna touch it. It's the owls. Yeah, but I don't wanna touch it.
Yeah, working.
I know, but that's what's the noise.
So the motion is to approve the repair of the shed, but to make sure that there's no increase in size or height. It is, so that we all understand, it's in the setback, the rear setback on this property would be 20 feet, and it's 4.72 feet from the rear property line. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Joy, any discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign.
I'm gonna go back and revisit the Chesterton 22.
Okay, okay,
I was mistaken, it's not 2202, it's 2200. Or it's not the building house, it's the one check, one stop, it's the one property north. That's the one that's working on the driveway to block all of that. Yes. But I don't know about the retaining. And I don't know about the size of this, but I saw a big dugout house, not previous driving, so it's not the little king. It's one that's already existing.
It's the rental house closer to the lake.
Yeah.
Used to be a rental house.
But maybe Carter can stop by there and see what's going on and see.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to do.
What's that?
That's the 2200. Yes.
So, 2202, that's been looking.
Right.
okay, so what you're saying is, Pete, this one that I've got in front up on the screen right now, 2200, that we gave them a permit for their driveway, but they're doing a retaining wall. Hold on before I. Okay, so you know what we're talking about there? 2200. If they're doing a retaining wall, they don't have a permit for
And
it.
make sure that like, you know, one driveway. It's been abandoned, weeks, separated, done. And I'm sure.
Okay, next up is, number 29, the tree, ordinance. Joy, you want to bring that?
Oh, yeah, I know I just sent this out recently, so we don't have to make any decisions, but the tree board has put this together, and this is a document that they would like to hand out with all building permits. It really just refers to you can't clear cut trees on town property. But, they also, want to notify people what trees you can plant, what you can't plant. And there are fines associated if you cut down any trees on town property, which has happened. So if everybody just wants to look at this, and then maybe the next meeting, they can bring back their comments.
I have none.
Yeah, Joy sent this out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, just a few days ago.
Oh, I'm thinking of the parking.
Yeah,
All right, so if you guys want to take a look at this, I think it's a good idea to include with the building permit information that goes out. Another thing for Hunter to do. Just another thing for you to do. Next up is the parking ordinance, which was next in your,
I did get one comment from Ken. He's got, I think, a better definition of how we identify the size of a truck. Ken, can you explain that to us?
Yeah, approach the chief regarding truck classification by weight and weight. And, there's a class, something with the class 3, that, cover 1 ton trucks. So we have a definitive statute that says 1 ton trucks are this. And, this other way of trying to describe commercial trucks and trucks of this and that, and you guys all know what's in there. I think being more definitive with the law, instead of trying to beat around the bush, is a better way to go. And that's ordinance, so we could argue the fact that it's a 1 ton truck by state regulation. The other issue is commercial vehicles. Well, commercial vehicles, people take vehicles home from work. That's part of their job. And, some of them are, some of them are trucks, and they have signs on them. Indication, that they are operated by a company, individuals. So when you say commercial, you have to include all of it, because commercial may be, there's some environmental things, not they told that it's for. So I think we better look at this before we go any further and eliminate some of this, there's focus and all this wording and everything, get some, a little more definitive that we can use, that people aren't going to sit there and try to debate the officer when it comes time to put a ticket on the vehicle. And we have to consider the long time residents that are dependent on commercial vehicles, and all of a sudden, if we should ask something that ensnares their vehicle, then they've got a problem. So I think we should table this, not table it, but give a little more thought to it.
Okay, can I just say that I want to make sure we're looking at the same thing, because I changed commercial vehicles as defined in 154.113. And that definition is any commercial truck, including tractor, trailer, and trailer combinations, dump trucks, flatbed trucks, stake bed trucks, utility vans, step vans, any truck over 1 ton, and any truck with more than 4 tires. Any other truck or vehicle, except automobiles, sport utility vehicles, single axle pickup trucks, and delivery vans in the town. So
By definition of the plate, or the gross vehicle weight of the vehicle, you eliminate all those other trucks. Is the point. Class 3 vehicle and below is acceptable. Class 3 above class 3 is prohibited.
okay, I'm fine with that change if that really identifies it.
Yeah. So,
Can you where is the definition of class 3?
references to it, because
Okay.
that's the state's action.
And where do the people who do all the yard work, where do they fit in this? A lot of them have trucks with trailers.
most of them, most of the I don't know, what do you wanna call them, the landscape people like to do leaves and lawns and whatever, most of them, just the 1 and 2 mom and pop guys, they drive a pickup truck up to probably a 1-ton pickup truck.
A lot have trailers.
Right, and most all of them have trailers.
Trailers are eliminated.
Right, that we're gonna put them out of business, if people aren't happy about that.
No. this-
But I'm talking, I mean, the parking ordinance isn't for people that are just parking, you know, coming to do something in town. This parking ordinance is for people parking in their driveways, overnight parking.
Maybe you should say that, right? Does it say that anywhere overnight?
Yes.
I think it does.
Just make sure that, hold on.
Okay.
I put up on the screen here what the different classes of vehicles are. Class 1 is less than 6,000 pounds, class 2 is 6,000 to 10,000, class 3 is 10,000 to 14,000. And then it goes up, class 4, 14, 16, class 5. The state of Indiana, I'll bring theirs up here. I can spell. It's a ton, isn't it? It's like an one. That one I want.
Yeah, I don't see that it says overnight parking anywhere here, so I will add that.
What's that? You don't see what?
I don't see overnight parking in here, so I will add that.
Under section B.
Section,
Person shall park at that park overnight in commercial vehicles. That's the section that's talking about. Yeah,
what section?
well, on the document, I don't know, I'm looking at different documents, but section B.
Which one?
154.113 B. Talks about no person shall park or cause to be parked overnight in a commercial vehicle.
Mine doesn't say it.
Right.
Mine doesn't.
Mine doesn't.
Okay.
Let's just make sure it's in.
I'll make sure it's in there.
Do you have a section B?
Yes, it just doesn't, none of us have to depart overnight.
Yeah,
Nobody has that.
and I didn't change that, so
This is just.
Yeah, something. Okay.
Already make it, I have a whole paper to the exact, it's class 2, class 3, I will prepare it.
Well, the state of Indiana doesn't, it used to be that you would get a plate in Indiana that said, I don't know, if it was truck 5, truck 7, truck 9. And now in commercial vehicles, and what they say, what I'm trying to figure out here, they don't do it like the classification that you're talking about. They will go from class 1 to class 9. What they say is, you know, you're either a commercial, if you're in a commercial situation, like if, when you bought your, now this is you as an example, whatever your truck is, you registered that truck as an individual, private individual, right? So I have trucks that are probably the same size as yours. Mine are registered as commercial trucks, and I use a declared weight. So they plate my trucks. They have trucks that are plated from, under 11,000 pounds, then they go up, and so I don't buy trucks that are less than 20, or more than 26, because that requires a CDL. So I just want to make sure that what we're talking about here is what Indiana does. So, I mean, this is Indiana's site. A commercial truck is a weight of 11,000 pounds, 11,001 pounds. or more.
Yeah, and it's a statute, that's legal statute associated with that.
I don't have it. You showed it to me, but I don't think you gave it to me.
That's just-
I still think it's appropriate to name the types of vehicles we don't have.
Okay.
And once we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think is that everybody should have input.
You can have, even if you say commercial class 6, you know, there are step vans, there are passenger vans, there are limousines, there are stuff. That almost nobody does it, but if you don't include it, that's where the argument is. For somebody to say, hey, and you're gonna see it in the large establishment that's being built. Where do you think all these people are gonna get it? To Long Beach. They're not gonna come in a little two-seater. They're gonna come in, you know, we all know what that place is gonna be. And it's gonna come with vans, and they're gonna be parked.
Are we talking about Yellow Bear?
Yeah.
I mean, my neighbors own cars that could probably, fit 10 people. I don't know, we're back to limousines again. I mean, again, the argument is,
If it's a personal vehicle, that's fine.
okay, well, maybe a limousine is I mean, I don't know. I think we're going like outside the box. I mean, Yellow Bear hasn't done anything, but, I mean, how are people gonna get there? It's a home. People get there in their cars, for Pete's sake.
I also just want to remind everybody that what your charge is at the request of the APC is coming up with a recommendation. So at some point, one way or the other, just taking a vote and recommending the language, because then the APC is going to consider that and do whatever they do, have their public hearing, and then it's still gonna go before the town council. And the town council is going to consider those recommendations too. So it's at some point, you gotta get it off center, or the APC is just gonna pick it back up.
Yeah, curious, how this is related to the yellow bear.
My opinion,
Yeah,
Yellow Bear's a lodge. People are gonna have to get to this lodge. You can debate that, but I've yet to see a house with seven bunk room, 7 guest suites, a master suite, and all that, owned by a corporation. And we don't want to address it there, it's gonna happen somewhere else. So the point is, and there are many issues with that lot, which we'll take up later, that don't fit with our current ordinances. And you need to look at it and think about what could happen. I've said before, it may sound silly, but you could land a helicopter. We don't have anything against that. That could be a helicopter landing pad. We don't have an ordinance that stops that. We don't
My
have-
sister lives in a house there.
Or that our ordinance says that you can have a shed at 1% size. A 1% size of the lot there is a 3,500 square foot shed. That's the kind of stuff that we have to think about. Now, you may not want it, but you gotta think about it.
Again, I think the size of the house, or I don't know why we're going after Yellow Bear. They've done everything right so far. But I guess we need to just move on, because if it's going to APC, I'm on APC, and then we'll be looking, all we wanted when this came back to the building commission was the building commission to look at the parking ordinance. So I appreciate it. So maybe again, we need to have thoughts from people sent to Larry, I guess, and maybe Joy, and Joy can try and rework it again. So, thank you.
Okay, what Joy did here, and I want to make sure, Ken, that you understood what Joy just said, and I'm not sure that it came across that way. What Joy did in B on the first sheet is just taken from our actual ordinance that is already in place. And that's what's described in our ordinance. they're not asking us to change that, and nobody's come before us. The reality, or not the reality, I think the reason for doing this is that it was brought to us that people in the town don't want to have commercial vehicles, dump trucks, whatever, parked in a permanent situation where in our town. I don't think that's unreasonable, but, this is probably the fourth month that we've had this here, and I think we need to get it off the table here.
Yeah, to make the changes of, make sure overnight parking is added and change the definition to class 3 and above.
Well, I think Indiana doesn't use class 3 and above.
Okay,
No, that's what the problem. Indiana uses, they go in, and when I get a plate, I declare the weight of that truck is going to be. So if I have a 1-ton truck, I'm gonna use the terminology that I'm familiar with. I have a 550. That truck will haul 20,000 pounds, and that's what Indiana's weight is. It's not the truck, it's the truck plus a payload. That's how you plate it in Indiana. They don't plate by, you don't walk in with your F-550 and they say, this is a 15,000 gross vehicle weight truck. They say to you, Ken, what is the gross vehicle? What do you?
Those letters,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well,
You wanna read it right here. You know what, we gotta stop this. This is gonna go on for another hour. Joy spent a month doing this. We beat the size of the truck up enough. So let's everybody send their stuff to Joy. If you have a recommendation or a complaint or whatever, send it to Joy. Let's let the APC take care of it.
but I do wanna add that, and cause I personally got lectured by somebody at the BMV when getting a truck plate, they said, hey, that may affect you driving down Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, because it gives you, so you do declare. And
Yes.
to Pete's point, it doesn't tell the whole story, whether you declare or you're not, or whatever it's classified. So that's where determinations you're gonna have to decide. Are we doing on gross weight, plate type? Or are we going to specify, because, for instance, my truck, there are limitations where I can't take it and it isn't a commercial vehicle. So you guys are gonna have to collectively decide how you wanna go and classify, and that gross weight doesn't tell the whole story necessarily. As Pete's perspective is if you want to limit more, you're gonna have to be more specific.
And I'm gonna read you right from the Department of the BMV site. Indiana only uses the declared gross vehicle weight for the real vehicle registration and plate weight. So, they don't use a form that says this VIN says this truck can haul 30,000 pounds. All right, so would everybody do that? So you send your
Give
recommendations.
final decision. I would suggest, I'll send our suggestions to Joy,
Great.
and then let Joy send it to the agency, because that's why they make the big bucks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that occurs is that if somehow whatever version the majority adopts here, assuming there is going to be one, everybody is free to send their comments along to the APC as well as the town council as this thing progresses.
Okay. So please do that. Maybe honor, if you would send a reminder to everybody next Wednesday, and just ask them.
So put this to bed, something to make that as a motion.
Okay,
Second,
why don't you repeat that so Honor can get it?
send your comments to Joy.
Joy will send it to the ABC, and then let's get that out.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. I don't know how many of these we want to hit. Are you just here for entertainment still?
Well, it's fascinating. I actually thought I had another job under in for demolition permit. It was submitted last week.
What's the address?
The address is, 2937 Bridge Road. We're applying for demolition permit. Now, we have plans for the completed, we're waiting for the engineering firm to do the septic on, so my septic permit, we anticipate having that, to be able to submit in the, I assume it will apply. They're just, I'll do that. But I would like to get that authorization to start the demolition.
Oh, this is the one that we talked about. Okay. It's not finished. You need to, hold on. There's demolition forms on the website.
They're also on the website for.
Pardon me? On the website, under permits, under permit requirements, demolition requires a permit, which you have here, but it also requires a demolition sheet, which lists the property, the owners, who's doing the demolition, what your conveyance is, where the debris is going, and where the fill material is coming. What are you putting in as fill material?
So. In the information I submitted, so I submitted there's a checklist of items.
I'm looking at what you said. Okay, so
that has all that information. I have it.
Gary, there's a form.
My bad.
It's a form, it's on the website, everybody, we had 2 demolitions this past week. They sent their stuff in, we approved the permit. It's simple. Your job, as you know, is to fill out the stuff and give it to us. If it's not all there, then we don't consider the permit. I'm looking at what you submitted. You got a site plan, you've got some verbiage to the owner. You have a permit for us, but you have no demolition information. Our demolition form hasn't been filled out.
My apologies.
Okay?
And just for clarification, does that require approval of the building commission, or if he fills that out, are you able? I'm just asking so that we're clear.
Right. So what happens is when those permits come up, if there's not something that Carter and I think that there's gonna be a problem with, we issue those permits.
So he doesn't have, that's what I'm doing.
And that's, I apologize, Larry, I thought that we had the information.
I'm just reading all the stuff that you have here, but you don't, right?
We don't, I did not fill out the demolition permit because I did not find that. My apologies. I'll get that
But
submitted.
the clarification is it can't be considered today. And if he gets that to you and Carter deem it okay, then
Right.
you have the authority to.
Right. And you may not know this, and you may know this. We've had one of the reasons that we enforced this is we had somebody come here 4 or 5 years ago to demolish a house. And we said to them at this meeting, it's very unusual to have a demolition permit come through without something that says what your plan is. Because you should understand that what it takes to build new, is what you have to adhere to. That individual said that they were fine. We understand everything. They came 2 years later with a house plan that needed 4 variances, and it took them 2 years. So,
Immediately, they've been grandfathered, but been able to do it.
right, so I mean, same thing, I want to caution you.
No, and I appreciate that. Again, the owner has worked with Heidi Appointed, who's prepared the plans. The plans are done. Basically, the
Okay,
owner.
let's just get this up to us.
Yes,
And this one.
okay, thank you.
Okay, next up. Grandfather. Everybody have that in front of them?
Yes.
You know what, before we do this, because of what just happened, this is why we stop and we no longer consider permits that are not completed. Because regardless of the amount of time it took, it's the same thing over and over again. In particular, Gary should understand that he comes before us quite often. He should understand what the issues are, why we require the paperwork we require. Also, the caution about demolishing something, that was a 2-year process for the building commission and whatever it was. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands why we're doing it the way we're doing it. Okay, grandfather, set this up.
On the grandfathering stuff. What I did was send to everybody in the last week or so, 10 days, the original thing that I wrote and proposed for grandfathering, and then incorporated Bob's comments about his questions about grandfathering. So the original thing that I sent, that you have, is just plain text, okay? No highlights. Bob's comments are in yellow, and a couple of other things that will change later from what I really saw down to the bottom. Grandfather qualifications, just definition type stuff. So that's the changes. If anybody has any questions, once again, what we're trying to do here is establish, in particular, I think we all had the issue of the little, what was that? Oh, near the country club, where there was a structure built long ago, far away, that incorporated the setbacks which Joy came up with for the original subdivision. And those things then, the accessory structure in the was a garage or something, turned out to be in the setback. And that's just one example of the thing we've run into. So what we want to be able to do is establish that if something was built legally at the time it was built, then that same structure will still be legal as we address it now, but it still must conform to any new changes if appropriate. That's the whole purpose of the grandfather. And we, as Larry just pointed out, we had involved the situation we had where the house was demolished 2 years ago, and then somebody came back and said, well, I'm putting it in the same footprint as before, that's grandfather. And we had that argument also on property 2 or 3 years ago. That when we allowed it, we did. So the question is, what does grandfathering mean? And does these definitions help us in future discussions with any applicants? And Bob questioned about I still don't see why a non-conforming structure cannot be allowed if it doesn't add to non-conforming. And my comment to that would be, it depends on where the structure is. If it was a garage like the one we had on Pocono, maybe that's not an issue. But if a home is built in the what do you call it, the setback area, the entire home, that's a different situation. So, and that's a situation that we would refer, in my opinion, we would refer that to the BZA and say, look, there's a minor discrepancy here, these things should be looked at. And a major discrepancy being the whole house or a good portion of the house is in the setback, of which there are many homes in Long Beach that are like that. So that's the purpose of this, no more than less.
I guess my concern was that the house on Open Wall had a structure a long time ago in the setback on the west side. They bought the property, they wanted to expand the main structure, the main house, which wasn't connected to this, and we told them no, because they couldn't make it bigger. He didn't make the nonconformity any worse. They ultimately sold the place, moved, and I don't think anybody's living down.
Although they are doing a lot of work in the house.
But it's something that's bought.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody else get a fault.
Well, part of it is you can go there.
Well, that's a lot, they had permits.
Making that, so we're gonna make the original structure here, but they weren't adding a third house on it,
I guess that's my comment. I just feel like we chase those people out of town.
Well, there's an argument that this section of the non-conforming ordinance that got changed by the BZA says that you can't repair, replace, build as long as you're not increasing non-conformance. So it's really a definition of what is that non-conformance. That's one of those exception areas that maybe you might be easier to build an exception in for something like that.
Our section. Should such structure be moved for any reason, and it is declared, shall therefore become the regulation. You know, it also says in one, no such structure may be expanded or enlarged until it has been brought into conformity. In other words, they had to tear down that second structure on the property to make the main house bigger. It's, you know, why would we want to do that? See, you know, I just thought that was a little much, but some, you know, I know this body.
But in that particular situation, I believe they also were intending to make that a guest house.
That was the original intent.
Right, they were
Which is the reason we stopped it.
Yeah, it wasn't getting any bigger. It's the-
No, they wanted to put
It's not, that's the same there, the use there.
Right.
So I look at these ordinances to say, you try to develop an ordinance that covers most situations.
Yeah.
And then if there's a problem that we can't resolve, that's up to the BZA.
So, I remember we talked, us talking about a use variance on this. I think we just talked about you can't expand the front of the main house. Use variance does add on the wrinkle.
I agree.
Because use variance would be that second dwelling, not a single lot, right? Okay. So, I guess I'm good with it as it stands.
Anybody else have any other comments? So then, we're going to forward this to the APC.
So,
Any discussion? All those in,
Somebody second.
yeah, Pete did it. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay, so I'll just redo this and get rid of the yellow stuff on it. Okay,
Well, but you're leaving the 50%.
yes.
Yeah,
Leaving those,
that probably comes up more than anything else.
well, no, is that,
That's on the second sheet. You got it. Two. More in there. Yeah, right there.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, let me just hold off on this, the changes. I have some procedural questions.
All right, so we won't do these others. All right.
We have a situation, once again, we have a situation where, building permit expirations, Yellow Bear, we have a 1 year limit on the building permit. That 1 year can be extended additional. Nobody has requested an extension on the building permit.
They did, maybe a month ago.
In between the last two meetings.
Right, so what we told them was we couldn't act on that because there were outstanding invoices from the town or not really from the town, for outside engineering that were, that had been paid yet. So we said, we will not act on that until those are paid. So they paid them, and I have to tell you that I should have put it on the agenda. They have asked for a extension of the building permit to 12/25 or 12/30, just 12/31/25. They did pay, they did in writing request.
But that's not, we cannot approve that. We have a limit on the times that we can extend. So we have to resolve that issues. And I think you're allowed one permit, one extension. I believe the extension is 4 to 5 months. So if an additional thing has to be extended, then
Start. Like, all right, so if we can give them a 6-month extension, which I'm pretty sure that's what the ordinance says. Can I make a motion? I don't even know if I can. I would make a motion that we give them a 6-month extension for the permanent Captain's Walk, Honey Bear Farms, or whatever the name of it is.
Yellow Bear. These guys have against Yellow Bear.
Second by July.
Did their current permit expire on it?
No, end of the year. Any other discussion?
No, just that thank you, because you did address this. It was addressed in a couple of emails about the engineering fees being paid, and so you have kept us up to date on what's happening.
I forgot to put it on the agenda.
Yes, but you did keep us up to date.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, what else?
Oh, the issues about we are holding the permit review time of 10 days. And you were gonna identify the requirements of the site survey, which is a state survey. Yes.
Yes.
What are we talking about?
The definition of site survey versus state survey, a state survey, in my understanding, is you line up one side of the lot. You know, whatever. You want to build fast or something like that. A site survey is really survey for the whole shebang, right there.
So what happens is in real estate and construction, there are a couple of things that a state survey means that a surveyor goes out and he finds known monuments, which can be section monuments. You know, if you're driving around sometimes in the county, you'll see it, there's a concrete monument, that's a section corner. So then from there, they go to a lot of there's different names for the different pieces. So what they do on a state survey is they use some known, a lot of times there's something down at stop 31. They'll go down there and from that point, they will survey to your lot. So then they will find exactly where your lot is. And when you see a state survey, it has all that information. It'll say like FIP means found iron pipe, SIP means set iron pipe. Then there's all kinds of different acronyms for different things. And that is, you could take that to the back, you could take it anywhere. That's your problem. So a lot of times that we see those here. But what we often see is what's referred to as a mortgage plat or a house location. And what that is, that's when a surveyor, so when you buy a house and you have a mortgage, most banks want to make sure that property is on, or that building is on your property. So they go to surveyor, and the surveyor, I don't know if they go out and do field work, but they don't go out and set or find iron pipes. They don't go out and do all that. They may do something from their field work that they have before, and they just say to the bank, this property, this is where this is, and they'll show it on the drawing. So the difference between those two is, and I'm gonna ask Chris because I don't really know, it's a legal situation. I'm sure if you went into court and you wanted to say, hey, this guy's on my property, they're not gonna take your mortgage plat. They're gonna wanna see a state survey that's certified by a surveyor that says I'm certifying this is an actual representation of what your property.
Well, it's a factual, one is just more particular than the other.
Yes.
Right? And you could use me to support your argument too.
Right.
But then there's an argument that you could counter that by saying, well, I have a location plan.
Right.
And then you can say, well, I have these stakes or that it's based on historical, have some look at their procedures. There's just a hierarchy. It's most of
That's, thank you, you could have saved me 10 minutes. So for our purposes, if somebody walks in here with a stake survey, I take that as, this is the surveyor said, everything on this is accurate, he's not gonna lose his license over that. When somebody comes in with a mortgage plat, that's a step down, just as Chris said, a hierarchy. So,
But for our stuff, in addition to that, what we need to know is when somebody's supposed to provide a site survey, which basically include, which we would use to calculate the coverage. And we see hand drawings and sketches and all stuff that says, oh, this is 35, 37,
right,
and we get nothing like that.
right,
So we need, I think we need to develop something that, and the site surveys are not cheap. Costs $1,000 or more, right?
right. And the one that they gave you, that you see today, that you brought in here, that's a mortgage plan. And it says right here, corner, it says house location on, and then it lists the thing. But no surveyor went out here and found all the actual corners of the property. So,
Or all the things that are on. You were
Right.
basically accepting this.
that's right, that's right.
Yeah, I do think that we've had this discussion a lot between Larry and doing this privately. And it doesn't mean that you have to accommodate you're generally pretty strict. Getting a permit and doing some of these things are pretty expensive. Getting a variance in your town is pretty expensive, and that's okay if that's you're not profiting off these, and the amount of time that you guys actually spend on these, there's no windfall, but yeah, you may want to consider some kind of table of what requires stake surveys. They're salty, right? But they're not neat. I can tell you my private practice, rarely do I ever have a stake survey for getting a variance or doing things, which might not be the right way but you're also representing there's no covenants, no restrictions that run with the land, et cetera. You're giving notice to those who want to speak up that say, hey, you're encroaching. So yeah, you're gonna decide the most thorough way is to have a stake survey, but that's generally adding $3, $4, $5 grand to every project.
Okay, two other things that we discussed. One is, the issue of display of a building permit. It's not being done. I go by many sites and I see permits being displayed. We were gonna police them, and we're gonna check with, Mark to say that if they see work being done on the property, they need to make sure that there's a permit. I'm not expecting them to know exactly what the permit is. The permit needs to be displayed. We need to know that there's a permit there, and that they're not doing it. So that needs to be, otherwise, that's where we run into the cousin Jimmy stuff. The other thing is the issue of beach stairs. I think, did everybody get the pictures of the beach stairs? We have to decide what to do. There are clearly at least 3 or 4 who have put in stairs that were not approved. There may be others, I don't know the exact streets, but we need to decide, are we gonna do this or not? Because they'll roll around for another season and the stairs are gonna appear. I will say that it's much better than it used to be, that's for sure, because people have built their stairs into the seawall with 48-inch or whatever it is. 40-inch thing, but there are others who are not. And we know that in the first complaint will be, well, the water's way down, the beach is way out. The water will come back. The beach will be right up to the seawall for maybe within 3 years. And if we don't stop this now, we're never gonna stop it.
If I can interject something, Pete, on the stairs. One of the things that happens with stairs and when the pictures that were sent out, and I agree with Pete, nobody thinks about it now because the beach is way up, so people don't have a lot of stairs. But what happens is when people build wood stairs, which we have an ordinance against, it's not now, it's when the water comes up. And in 2019 on the Halloween story, when you went, looked down at Washington Park Beach, there were sections of decks that were half the size of this room that came from our residents that were sitting on the beach, sections of stairs, all those things. That's the reason why we should enforce our rules. And there are rules that are above us with the DNR and with FEMA. Because that's in a floodplain, so everything that's built in a floodplain, one of the reasons, and you see it on the news all the time, you know, stuff that's floating down the river is injurious to somebody, that can injure somebody. Same thing with the deck sections and all the stairs. That's the reason we require it. I know it's really easy to say right now, yeah, just put a little section of stairs, but when the lake comes up, that little section of stairs is gonna break some little kid's legs when it's floating underneath the water.
So we need to decide, are we gonna do something or not? And by something, I mean issue a citation. Any comments? Crickets.
We, had a big book to do about this when it came up, and, how are these people putting wooden stairs up now?
Well, what happened when it first came up, you know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
From the top of both seawalls down to the skin was probably 10 feet, now it's 3. So they're not putting in big sets of stairs. Most of the pictures that Pete said, you'll see, there are 3 or 4 stairs or 5 or 6 stairs. That's probably more dangerous than a 20-foot long section of stairs that's going to break off and, you know, ends up on the beach with the nails sticking up. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, how did they get by doing that?
They just did it.
Huh?
They just did it.
No, okay. Well, then we gotta enforce what we put in.
Yeah, I think they should all be fine.
So I guess the only concern I had is we passed that stair ordinance 3 years ago, something like that. And I think before we set people fines, we need to look and see were they existing before that date. Because before that date, we didn't really address what they couldn't do. So I think if we're gonna follow the legal process, we need to assure that. So maybe we need to look at Beacon. It's got that aerial view and see if they existed before. And confront them. And eventually all the wooden stairs, the ones that were built before that are gonna deteriorate. And they'll have to tear them down and we won't let them rebuild.
The pictures I saw was well pretty good.
I'm sorry, what?
The pictures that I saw was well pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Bob, you've been working on this for 2 years at least, right? Where you, where you've taken photos, you tried to figure out who had grandfathered in, who was not grandfathered in. It's, yeah, I know. So how do we move forward?
Well, who's in the sites here? Sorry, I missed that part. So you're saying, are there a whole slew of new stairs?
I think there's at least 4.
Okay. And if you were gonna be applying it might be the same, well, sending out those citations, sending out 10-day letter, you know, making them bring in compliance. What you attempted to do before was you sent out, you made a list, and that was pretty comprehensive, right? Of notice, and then we're gonna make decisions on whether these comply or not. This seems to me to be a little bit different because you're not really going back historically. Some of those exist, some of those don't. It proved to be a little bit onerous to try to address all of those, but where you have the new ones, you kind of are, as Pete, I think Pete's suggesting, is coming up with the new, here's the baseline. Everything else, these exist. When they're gone, they're not grandfathered because they weren't legal in the first place. You're gonna have to follow the shore protection ordinance and all of that, but if these are clear, yeah, you're seemingly on much more solid ground than you were with those other ones, because in many instances you were guessing.
Okay. And the last thing is, we talked about several things that were gonna be done to ensure that homeowners follow the rules. For example, if somebody says they're replacing something in place, we're gonna measure it before and afterwards. Are we doing that?
Yes,
Good.
Carter goes out, and anybody that says they're removing and replace, He goes out, takes a look before we even consider putting the permit together. And just like the one that was brought up, about the retaining wall, that was a big snooker, that's there. To try to.
Done.
Okay, any other commission comments? Seeing none, is anybody online, anybody have any, comments from the Zoom meeting or Zoom people? Pete, second.
Second.
Bob, all those in favor?
Aye.
All the same sign. Thank you. You,